UFC Denver. This is the weigh-in recap show, full card predictions, and the betting breakdown. Looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card after seeing the fighters on the scales. So make sure you guys smash the like button if you're new, subscribe, turn the post notifications on, and make sure you share the video as well. And also note the full card fight companion is back, going down at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday. Don't miss it. And let's get into the first fight on it. We have Evan Elder versus Darius Flowers. This is a very late addition to the card. It was just added a couple of days ago, and it's at 170 with both guys here being lightweights. I'm going with Evan Elder. I think he has a little bit more of a well-rounded tool set. Darius Flowers does have a bit of punching power. He's got a boxing background, albeit not a good one, a lot of losses. Don't even look at his box rec. If you look at his boxing record, you're going to be like, damn, how can I pick Flowers? Evan Elder reminds me a bit of like a young, I don't know, Poirier spinoff. He gives me Poirier vibes. I think Evan Elder gonna have a bit of a physicality edge, a bit of a power advantage with the hands. He's just a bit better technically than Darius Flowers, but like odds-wise, it's hideous. If you're considering a bet on this one, it's kind of terrible looking at what the lines are sitting at. But we do got to check out the scales, and let's see if anything changes. With both guys having fought at 170 before, but being lightweights inside of the UFC, let's see here. We're going to first bring up Darius Flowers. Let's find our guy. We got a whole slew of fighters to slide through. You're getting a little early preview to everybody on the damn scales here. All right, we got Darius Flowers right here, okay? He looks to be in pretty good shape, specifically for a fight on extremely short notice like this, stepping in on a few days without a camp, staying relatively lean. It's not like he's coming in with a pot belly. I was curious to see if either one of these guys would, show up out of shape. They don't. They're both in their 20s too, so they got to stay fit and ready to fight all year round. You can see Evan Elder there. I think you can see the Poirier comparisons. He looks pretty damn jacked. I like Evan Elder's game, and some to note about Elder. A couple fights back, he was fighting Nazim Salikhov, and he won the first 2 rounds before the stoppage by the doctor. So there are a lot of things to like. Now, to look at the face-off between these two, they go side by side. You don't get the full effect. Something that I saw from the face-off video is Darius Flowers has got a pretty solid back on him. He's well built. So I do think he's in shape too. Both of these guys look ready. If you look just at this picture, Evan Elder seems to be in better shape. I think Evan Elder wins. I don't like the odds at all. I feel like he's just a better MMA fighter with a lot more of a high ceiling, right? You could see Evan Elder becoming a decent prospect in the UFC, whereas Darius Flowers, dangerous guy, but just, I don't know, man. I don't know. Something's off with him. He's got okay boxing. He's decently well-rounded, but I think he loses this fight here to Evan Elder. But again, it's not one really to throw down on for the simple fact you're going to bet heavy on a fight that was just added in. I guess there's going to be, a portion of people that maybe are on the big underdog Darius Flowers. I get it. Plus 326. Also note we're at high elevation, so every single one of these fights, there's going to be a slight cardiovascular impact for guys that aren't used to it. It's not like Darius Flowers has a bad gas tank, but I could see him fatiguing a bit here. Now, Evan Elder, Killcliff FC, as great as a gym that is, you're in South Florida, man. You're at sea level for the most part. Minus 426, ugly favorite. I think we're going to hit over 1.5 at minus 200, but I don't think it's actually worth hitting betting-wise. And then digging into some more of these props here, I feel like Evan Elder, late KO or a decision, it's plus 180. KO plus 245. I feel like you're just playing with fire on this bet. I really don't think overall that it's worth it because you have a fight that was just added on a few days' notice. Why back, the Evan Elder side in a long shot parlay when it's at minus 425? In a fight that isn't minus 425, it's minus 250. Darius Flowers can box. Darius Flowers got decent jiu-jitsu. Evan Elder, I think, is a little bit better everywhere. A little bit cleaner, a little bit more powerful, but not minus 425, maybe minus 200. So these odds are just atrocious. And I get the dog or pass side betting-wise if you're looking to attack it, but ultimately you got guys on days' notice. There's much better bets to make than throwing down on guys taking it this week, So, yeah, we're going Evan Elder, but again, not into the betting side. Next fight on the card, Josh Fremd versus Andre Petroski. Earlier on in the week, I've been going with Josh Fremd, but as the week goes on, man, my confidence on Fremd dwindles a bit because I do have a relative concern of him stopping takedowns from Petroski and then dealing with Petroski from top position. But I do think Fremd's size is an interesting factor here. And I also believe that Josh Fremd's striking game is decent enough to match Petroski, who's looked kind of horrible in his past too. So the reason that I've been picking Fremd is not because I think he's been doing so well and looking sensational, but he's decent enough. And Andre Petroski, I feel like in a sense has a degrading skill set. Not that he's out of his prime, but I don't know. I haven't been impressed. Now, granted, you can say, bro, chill out. Jacob Malkoun's a savage, and so is Michel Pereira. Very fair points. The GM3 win was close, but subpar fight. Wellington Tournament wins okay. Maximov submission, I guess, is kind of impressive. I don't think that the odds are wrong. I think these odds are accurate because you're looking at pretty much even lines for this fight. Now, I am going to check out both these guys on the scale. You saw a little sneak peek of the face-off. But first, we're going to look at Josh Fremd, who, you know, is on the thinner side. I mean, at 6'4", it's relatively difficult to keep a significant amount of muscle on you at 185 pounds. I don't think he's submitting Petroski, though. Normally, guys with long, skinny arms are live for submissions, but Petroski is just probably better with the grappling. Fremd just has a weird physicality edge, right, with the height, and he's taking on such a short and stocky Petroski, and it's not like Petroski's stand-up is that good. I could see Josh Fremd hurting him on the feet. I worry about that Petroski chin. He is absolutely jacked, and if they're grappling, I see Petroski probably with top pressure. Now, as far as the face-off between these two, let's see them going face-to-face. You see a little bit of the height edge for Josh Fremd. Obviously, you know, you look at the size difference, the thickness favors Petroski, which in a sense, because, you know, it's not like Fremd has incredibly slick BJJ, you would favor Petroski's physique, right, of showing dominance on the ground probably, which is worrisome if, you know, you're betting on Josh Fremd. For some reason, I'm picking Josh Fremd. I said, man, last card, I said, I don't want to be pick flipping unless I'm absolutely feeling it in my gut that it's a certain thing. I fumbled the bag last time I pick flipped. And I'm not going to pick flip here because I think Josh Fremd somehow can win a weird fight. But by all means, the confidence level is extremely low. And I'm tempted to pick Petroski and flip, but I feel like if I flip to Petroski, superstition will kick in, and then Josh Fremd will be an absolute lock of locks. So to save all the Petroski backers, there you go. I'm not pick flipping. Odds for the fight are just -105 Fremd, Petroski -115. I don't like a bet. I don't like a bet on these first two. I don't know. There's way better bets to make. This, to me, is like, yeah, Fremd might win, and he might, or Petroski can win too. One of them's going to win, and the odds are pretty close. Somebody's going to cash. Over 1.5 at -200. I feel more confident in the over than the money line. I don't like any betting side of these first two fights at all. Fremd by decision, +415. Fremd by KO, +275. I'm sticking with Josh Fremd. A low-confidence Josh Fremd pick. And I don't know, he's going to win by some weird method of victory. It's going to go odd. This is an awkward fight. I'm excited to see it, though. Let's keep running. Next fight on it, we have Luana Santos versus Mariya Agapova. I'm going with Luana Santos. I got some, you know, relatively strong confidence in her grappling skills. She should be able to control Agapova on the ground, threaten her with submission attempts, and I do think eventually lock up a sub. Agapova's losses have aged well. I mean, a loss to Julian Robertson by submission is not bad. Robertson's a savage on the ground. And then a Marina Moroz loss. She's a crafty veteran. It's not horrible. Luana Santos is okay. Her striking, I'd say, is meh. She's a little bit sloppy with the hands, but she does have good clinch game, good throws, good top control, good submissions. You got to go Luana Santos to win by submission. I think her grappling skill is a massive advantage here against Mariya Agapova. Now, Agapova, she was homeless last I heard, like living outside or something like that. So I hope that she cashes a nice check, but ultimately, I don't see her winning the fight. We're going to bring Agapova up on the screen. We just got to find her. Guess she's on the next page. Here we go. There's Agapova. She looks like a savage. Agapova's a savage. I think Agapova's a G. I mean, she's crazy as hell. She could throw some hammers, but the ground skills, man, limited, worrisome. She hasn't fought in like a year and a half. It's just, I can't pick her. I think Luana Santos is a pretty solid prospect, and I see her getting the win. Better grappling skill, more technically sound on the ground. The striking, it's not like Agapova is this maestro. She's a good scrapper. She's got decent stand-up, but like not super slick. Not super slick. Luana Santos is going to be looking for takedowns, and I think she's going to be landing takedowns, and I think she wins. There's Luana Santos, and we are going to pull up the face-off between these two ladies. We got it right here. Respectable face-off. Both girls in good shape, ready to go. Similar frame, similar height, but just a clear jiu-jitsu advantage for Luana Santos, which I think carries the most weight here in this fight and ends up getting her the win. Now, as far as the odds, she's a 4-1 favorite, so it sucks as far as money line betting. I do think it'll be in a lot of people's parlays. I think that Luana Santos is going to pull through, but yeah, it's an inflated line. Over 1.5 minus 215. Probably. The win by submission for Santos, not that she submits everybody, but it's live here, is plus 160. Decision at plus 200. The confidence in the Santos pick is there. It's just the odds on the opposite side reflect absolute shit. So Santos to win by submission, I'm going to officially call it as, and I do think she's not a horrible parlay addition, but, it's inflated. If she was minus 200, I think she'd be a much better addition to the parlays. But is what it is. Nonetheless, calling it down the center. Luana Santos is a good prospect. Agapova is an okay fighter. I think Luana Santos is going to win. I'm picking her. Remember when Agapova lost to Shayna Dobson in that upset almost 4 years ago? She hasn't been fighting consistently at all either. And I'm going with Luana Santos to pull through. Next fight on the card, we have Montel Jackson versus Damon Blackshear in what I think is my most anticipated fight of the card so far. I'm going with Damon Blackshear. I think Damon Blackshear is a dog lock. I underdog locked him because I felt like this was the week to do it, and I got a good feeling that Blackshear is going to have stronger grappling, which I believe is a fact. And in the striking, I think he'll be fine with Montel Jackson. I feel like you look at Montel Jackson's hands in his last fight, you're going to have this notion that he's this absolutely tremendous boxer. Yeah, he's a decent southpaw with good hand speed. Knocking out Mariya, it's impressive in a sense, but how impressive? I don't think it's a win that convinces me Montel Jackson is top 15. I think he's pretty good, but he has a soft last four. When you dig into Montel's wins, you have Jesse Strader, JP Bays, Julio Arce, and Haniyaya. Okay fighters, the best one of the bunch. I mean, Julio Arce's stand-up is slick. Damon Blackshear on the other side, though. He's got something interesting, like this upward trending potential where I think he could eventually work his way into the rankings. Not even 30 yet. Lost to Mario Batista. I thought he could have got the decision. And he took the fight on a week's notice. He fought the week before and got a twister submission over Jose Johnson. There's a lot to like here. A loss to Basharat, not bad at all. Draw with Yusuf Zalal has aged magnificent because Yusuf Zalal is looking like a damn savage prospect too. Looking at the scales, we're going to check out these fighters. Let's see where they're at here. We got Damon Blackshear, who I think looked tremendous on the scale. 10 out of 10 physical condition, and I think he's going to have a legit physical strength and grappling advantage in this fight. Now we'll find Montel Jackson. Montel Jackson here looks okay. There's Montel. Something about Montel I'm going to note to you guys. Both of his losses are to guys with decent wrestling/grappling. Brett Johns, who's now a UFC washout, and Ricky Simone. I actually remember years ago when I first started the channel having Montel Jackson in a parlay in his fight with Brett Johns and him losing. Not that I'm bitter about it, but I think that Montel Jackson is being a bit overglazed because of these 4 straight wins, whereas Damon Blackshear, he did really well against Mario Batista on super short notice. I think he's a problem, man. I think Damon Blackshear is going to be in the top 15 soon. There's a face-off. I think Damon Blackshear's got him. Physiques in this fight is not a telltale. Doesn't matter. But I think Damon Blackshear looks pretty great. And I think he's going to come out and win. I think he controls a bit of the grappling, does well with the stand-up, and I see him pulling it off against Miles Johns, against, now I'm forgetting his name live. Holy shit, how am I doing it? Montel Jackson. It was funny because I fumbled on the money line. The graphic said Montel Johnson. I'm sorry for trying Montel. He's a savage, but I just think he's dealing with somebody superior, man. I really think the game of Blackshear is impressive, and I have a lot of faith in him. Plus 125, I really like the underdog here. I think he's pulling through. He's my favorite dog on the card. That's why I dog locked him. Montel around minus 145, the favorite. I just like the money line in this fight. Probably goes long at minus 210 for the over 2.5, and with Blackshear by decision at plus 250 is live as well. If he subbed him up, that'd be madness. Blackshear sub plus 385. He does have the jiu-jitsu skills where it could happen, but, Montel Jackson is no bum on the ground. He's no bum anywhere. I just think Blackshear is a bit better, and I think Blackshear is getting his hand raised. So we're going with underdog lock, Blackshear to pull through. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card, it's a ladies matchup with Jasudavicius taking on short notice replacement Fatima Kline. I'm picking Fatima Kline. It's her birthday today, actually. So happy birthday to Fatima Kline. She is fighting against a pretty stern test in her debut, and I'm picking her because I think that she has really good jiu-jitsu, and I like her slick striking. Jasudavicius can definitely pressure wrestle, but I don't know. I got a feeling Fatima Kline might be as good as advertised. She's a two-weight CFFC champ, something that Jasudavicius wasn't able to do. She lost fighting for the CFFC belt against Elise Reed. I think Fatima Kline, better striker, better jiu-jitsu. Jasudavicius could arguably have better offensive wrestling, but I don't know if I believe that. I think Fatima Kline could end up putting Jasudavicius on her back. I'm going with Fatima Kline to get the win here. I think on short notice, a lot of these prospects been winning. I like these prospects on the come up. We've seen it with Sopaj, right? We saw it last time out with Oliveira. There are some killers on the come up right now that you need to keep your eye on. And I think on short notice, Fatima Kline is going to end up looking pretty solid. I'm going with Kline to pull through. And I think I said Sopaj when I meant a different name. But Oliveira, great prospect who recently won against Ricky Simone early in his UFC run. I think Fatima Kline can beat a vet in Jasudavicius, even on short notice and even in a debut. I'm going to shrink myself down. And let's see, how do the scales look for these ladies? Is there any relative concern to be had? Well, here is Fatima Kline. She looks pretty intense. Something about Fatima Kline is she has a cold-blooded killer demeanor. It does not show any emotion, kind of like a female version of Alex Pereira, the way she, just stares into the soul of her opponents and even into the camera. This Jasudavicius, she looks solid on the scale. There's no scale notes for them. Yeah, they're in shape. They're there. Good. Fight, looking at it. Let's see the face-off. Cold-blooded. Fatima Kline is cold-blooded. Both girls nearly the same height. Jasudavicius a little taller. I think Kline's going to really show out in the debut. And I'm going with Fatima Kline for the upset. She is a slight underdog right now at plus 105 with Jasudavicius at minus 126 range. Looking at Kline to win by a decision. Is that the live call? Plus 135. What's a sub? Kline by sub is plus 575. She definitely has good jiu-jitsu, but I'm predicting a decision. She has gone 5 rounds before, which is a good note, especially her taking the fight on short notice. Over 2.5 at minus 400. I think we're probably going long. I'm going with Fatima Kline to get the decision win over a crafty veteran, and I think that the hype is pretty legit on her. And she's going to be dropping back to 115 after this fight. Very interesting player at just 24. I'm going with Fatima Kline for the W against the vet. Next fight brings us to our featured prelim of the night. We got Joshua Van versus Charles Johnson. I've been going with Joshua Van to win. I think Joshua Van's boxing prowess is going to really be a massive factor in this fight. Charles Johnson has good kickboxing, but I think he's going to have a hard time consistently maintaining distance as Joshua Van looks to close the gap. And I do think Joshua Van is going to put together good multi-shot combinations and also good multi-shot combinations to all levels. I don't think he's just headhunting here. I think he's ripping to the body nicely. I think he could be the first guy in the UFC to knock Charles Johnson out. I'm going with Joshua Van. I'm going to go out on a whim and say KO. Obviously, the money line is the better betting side. It is a little wide, though. It's a chalky call, but it has to be called. Let's check out Joshua Van. Let's see Van. Look at him. Great shape. Van was supposed to fight Tatsuro Taira, and then he was supposed to fight Tagir Ulanbekov. He was essentially on the fast track. Now he's just looking for a fight. And Charles Johnson, an absolute G, answers the call. Johnson, historically, is fighting a ton of grapplers. And, I mean, he does okay against them. It's just now he's taking on somebody that's going to strike with him. I think this is a harder matchup than these grapplers. He does have a nice reach advantage, but I think Van closed the gap. Let's see the face-off. Let's see him going nose to nose with one another. Let's see the intensity that they bring. You see the height for Charles Johnson, significantly taller. But I like Van's hands. Johnson looks a lot bigger, though. Now, I'll tell you that. With the face-off, he looks a lot bigger. But it's all good. The size of the man is not everything. I think Joshua Van's boxing skill is the ultimate X factor. And I think Joshua Van is going to get a win. Now, money line in a parlay is probably your best bet at minus 250 for Van, with Johnson at plus 210 as the underdog. Looking towards the side of Van to win by KO, just to read it off. It is a big plus money at plus 550, but it's also a massive feat. The reason I see it as possible is because I believe Joshua Van will attack the body and it will open up head strikes with Charles Johnson. And don't be surprised when Charles Johnson is the one looking to engage the grappling in this fight with Joshua Van. I'm going with Van to win, sticking with him, and I think he's going to be the first guy in the UFC to knock Charles Johnson out. Let's jump to our main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes, and if you're new, subscribe. Cody Brundage versus Abdulrazak Alhassan. Alhassan's been on fire all week, man. He was pissed off that Dricus du Plessis saying he's the real African champ, referring to, his struggling youth of, not eating for days. Alhassan's got power, and Cody Brundage is a flip-flop. Cody Brundage is an okay wrestler, decent overhand. He's not a bad fighter. I think he gets a lot of flack, but he's definitely not good either. Abdulrazak Alhassan at one point was a pretty highly touted up-and-comer. Now he's nearly 40. He is 39 or 38 in 11 months. Big power advantage, big striking advantage, judo base. I think he could defend the takedowns of Brundage for the most part, but I think he can definitely land some big power shots on the feet. I feel like Brundage striking gets caught, and I think he gets his lights put out. So we're going with Abdulrazak Alhassan, who definitely is the harder hitter, definitely is the better striker to get a knockout. We're going to check them out on the scales and see how they're looking. What fitness level did these guys come in with? I expect both high caliber, in shape. Brundage trains his ass off. Give him respect. He's in good shape and ready to go. He looks happy to be there, too. Cheesing. Absolutely cheesing, man. Brundage, he knows his job is probably not on the line with this one. I think even with a loss here, they're still keeping him on the roster for some debuting guy if he does lose. And let's find Abdulrazak Alhassan. There he is, looking stocked up, jacked. He's got the dreadlocks. He's got the dynamite hands. I like Abdulrazak Alhassan by KO. I think that's what's going to come to fruition. I think he catches him. Probably second round knockout. You see Brundage a little bit taller. I don't think this is an absolute washout. I think Brundage could give Alhassan a weird fight. It's worrisome with Alhassan for the fact that he's nearly 40 now. Is he towards the teetering end? If he's still got some fight left in him, I think this is a good matchup for him. And I think he gets a nice knockout of Cody Brundage. But if he is completely washed, maybe Cody Brundage is going on an unexpected run towards the top 15. Looking at the odds, Abdulrazak Alhassan minus 170 with Brundage at plus 145. I like the side of Abdulrazak Alhassan. I like the side of live knockout. I like under 2.5. Minus 350. There's going to be a finish in this fight. And then looking at Alhassan via knockout, minus 125. I do think he's getting the KO. Risky, though, to round prop it. What am I going to do? First round knockout for Alhassan, plus 200. Second round, plus 450. I'm going with Abdulrazak Alhassan to win. I think he does get the KO. I think he wins inside distance. I think his fight goes under 2.5 rounds. And I'm pretty confident in that under 2.5. And listen, I think Abdulrazak Alhassan, as I bring myself in full screen, I should say it. I got Abdulrazak Alhassan. Let's look at one last thing. the fact that Cody Brundage lost to Bo Nickel but gave him a tough fight last time. Does that mean something? Maybe not. I don't know. Fight before that, Zach Reese knockout. Impressive, but a little fluky. The Malkoun fight, he was on his way to losing, and he would have got released if he would have lost. Lost to Cedric Dumas, Vieira. He did drop Vieira in that fight. Judo Thunder, he's coming off the loss to Joe Pyfer. He went 2 rounds with Pyfer. Claudio Ribeiro KO. Alhassan striking is shining, and he's getting a knockout. Next fight on the card, we got Christian Rodriguez versus Julian Erosa. I've been going with Christian Rodriguez all week because the simple fact is Julian Erosa is inefficient defensively. He has his hands very low for the most part, which is something I don't like. A lot of his wins are like comeback submissions or fights where he doesn't even do that well. He's had some subpar performances in the UFC and pulling out close decisions. In his past 3 fights, he's got 1 win against Ricardo Low IQ Ramos, and then the Fernando Padilla fight. I predicted Padilla as an underdog to knock him out. It was a good call. Caceres knocked him out too. I think C-Rod can knock him out as well. Even though you'll look at, but Erosa, big height and reach advantage. That's a factor. Erosa also got knocked out by Artem Lobov on The Ultimate Fighter, whose reach is 65 inches. So, Erosa, incredibly defensively flawed. And I think that is going to cost him with an up-and-coming guy like C-Rod. So, we're going with Christian Rodriguez, and I am calling the knockout. We're going to look, though. We're going to see. Julian Erosa, we give him credit. He comes in shape. Let me shrink myself. He comes in shape. Give him credit. He's in shape. He's a tough journeyman. Christian Rodriguez is an up-and-coming contender, though. 11-1 in the UFC, went distance in the debut with Jonathan Pierce, who's got really good grappling, better grappling than Erosa. I think C-Rod pulls through. Granted, he looks like a flyweight in that picture. Let's see how they look at the face-offs. The one thing I'll tell you is I feel like Christian Rodriguez looks like he's the same size as damn Joshua Van here. So, big height advantage for Erosa, something we already knew coming in. I think Christian Rodriguez can hurt him. I think he's got the hand speed. He might go out and win a decision, though. C-Rod hasn't shown the power in the UFC, per se, but it could happen in this fight, especially with Erosa on the opposite side. I'm going with Christian Rodriguez. I'm confident he pulls through. He's a minus 235 favorite. I think he's got the fight IQ and skill set to win. And then looking at Erosa, plus 200 is the dog. I think C-Rod pulls through. Over 2.5 is minus 145. I think it's live for a knockout, though, for C-Rod. Plus 200 for the KO. I think C-Rod can find the chin, man. Under 1.5, plus 210. Interesting. It's just, I have a lot of concerns with Julian Erosa's defensive skills, man. Like, he's catching necks, right? If you shoot a blind takedown, but I don't think Christian Rodriguez is going to stupidly wrestle in this fight. I think he's going to be calculated and picking his shots on the feet, and I think he's going to find big openings and eventually put Erosa out. Erosa could even be considered a bit chinny. So, give me C-Rod for the knockout. Next fight on the card, it's Gabriel Bonfim versus Ange Loosa. I really like this fight. I'm going with Bonfim to pull through. Ange Loosa is the ultimate generalist, though, and he's absolutely jacked. You'll see in a second when I bring up the scales. But I think we can't jump off the Bonfim hype train because of a loss to Nicholas Dalby, who's actually really good. I think Bonfim's striking superior to Loosa, grappling superior to Loosa. I don't know, Loosa is physically strong, but he doesn't have a top caliber gas tank. The worry, though, with Bonfim is the fact that he may blitz. He may look for an early stoppage, and if he doesn't get that, because Ange Loosa has not been finished before, then he's going to run into trouble in the later rounds, especially at high altitude, could gas. That's the concern. But I think Bonfim learns from the loss to Nicholas Dalby, fights this fight smarter than the last one, and I think he wins. Bonfim for the W. Now let's check out the scales between these two, and let's see. Is there any shift? Is there any shift inside? There's not going to be any shift inside, but we still got to check out the scales. Where's Bonfim? Is he on the other page? No, here he is. Bonfim looks good, man. Great shape. Bonfim's still a really blue chip prospect, and he looks absolutely jacked here. And he's still evolving. You can't knock him for a Dalby loss. And then Ange Loosa looking absolutely jacked. I'm excited to look at them side by side. It's like Ange Loosa looks like he might be outmatched physicality-wise with Bonfim. Bonfim might be the first guy to finish him. You might sub him. Bonfim's jiu-jitsu is good. Let's look at the face-off. You look at the size advantage, too, for Bonfim. I think Gabriel Bonfim's got this fight. It's just you got to respect Ange Loosa's, resilience. That's an ultimate factor. So if Bonfim goes too crazy for a stoppage, could gas and lose. Minus 344, I think he's winning. plus 284 for Loosa. I think he pulls through. Looking at the odds here. Let's see. An over 1.5 at minus 165. With how Ange Loosa is normally defensively sound and pretty resilient on the ground, I think it's live. But ultimately, I think that Bonfim pulls through. Decision for Bonfim, plus 275. Submission at minus 105. We haven't seen Ange submitted yet, though. So could Bonfim be the first? Absolutely. But it could end up going long, and we get Bonfim's first win by decision because he's a finisher. He's never been distanced before. This could be the fight that pushes him there. And that would show growth in him, and I think that would actually be a positive. Minus 344, he is a parlay piece. Bonfim for the W against Ange Loosa. Pretty confident it happens. He bounces back from the Dalby loss. Loosa coming off the fight with Battle. Weird fight. He was getting controlled. The eye poke. They're fighting afterwards. Did have 2 wins before that, though. But Fletcher and McKee, not near Bonfim's level. Lost to Munir Lazez, which, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, you could see Bonfim outstriking him for 3 rounds and pulling it off, too. So, Bonfim for the win is the official prediction. Ange Loosa, though, the ultimate generalist. Next fight on the card, featured bout of the night, we have Drew Dober versus Gene Silva. I've been going with Gene Silva. Drew Dober is extremely hittable, man. Look at him taking bombs. Look at his fights, right? Take a second. The Moicano fight, he was doing damage on the feet there. Ricky Glenn, he destroyed him. Glenn's a step down. Matt Frivola destroyed him, right? Bobby Green was outboxing him until he got caught. Alves landed a couple bombs in that fight. Terrence McKinney dropped him multiple times in the first round. Gene Silva is a nasty striker with scary knockout power, and I think he's a serious contender on the come-up. Dober gets hit a lot, and even though he has a relatively good chin, I think he could get put down in this fight. I think Silva's got the pop to put him out. I'm going with Gene Silva by knockout, and I think people may be thinking of Gene Silva, but he's a featherweight. He's a large featherweight. He's got a very jacked frame. We'll see his physique in a second, and he did miss weight a couple weeks ago for his last fight, which was a featherweight fight against Charles Jourdain, which he got a sick knockout in. Let's see Gene Silva. Let's see how he's looking. Let's see who gets brought up first. Yes, it's Gene Silva. Gene Silva looks good at 55. Looks filled in, but doesn't look fat at all. Looks ready to go. He's extremely confident. He's fighting nerds, bro. We got to rep fighting nerds team until they give us a reason not to. Then there's Drew Dober, who looks in good shape. Does train at high altitude, too. It's something to like. Kind of looks like dad Drew Dober, right? He's reached his father years. Look, he's aged a little bit. I think Gene Silva's putting his lights out. Let's look at the face-off between these two. Let's feel the intensity of it. We got multiple picks from this face-off. We'll go with this angle first. Up close and personal, Gene Silva looks confident. But you can see, though, the side-by-side. This is a great angle. I wish we had side-by-sides like this for every fight on the card. Gene Silva is not some undersized guy for 155. He's about the same height as Drew Dober. It looks like his arm is damn longer than Dober's. Same muscularity. I think Gene Silva's getting an impressive knockout. I'm going Gene Silva by KO. I believe in the up-and-comer, and I think he finds that Drew Dober chin. Minus 116 for Gene Silva, minus 104 for Dober. Essentially even money down the center. Now, looking at method of victory, under 2.5 is minus 225, probably live. Gene Silva to win via KO is plus 185. I'm calling it by KO. Dober and him are going to have a violent striking affair, and I think we're going to see Gene Silva get the biggest win of his life, man. Under 1.5 or over, that's risky, but I think maybe under at plus 100. I'm going with Gene Silva. I'm going with knockout. The money line is live. I think you could put Gene Silva in a good value parlay, too, with him and Blackshear to spoil a little something. We'll do a value parlay at the end. I like Gene Silva a lot here. Riding with him. Gene Silva for the W at even money over Drew Dober in the biggest win of his life, biggest fight of his life, and I can't wait to see it. Probably best fight of the card. Next fight, we have the co-main event of the evening. Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Muslim Salikhov. Both guys are in the twilight of their careers, man. I just think Salikhov's a little more twilighted. I'm going with Santiago Ponzinibbio. I think he can get a knockout. I feel like he could find the chin of Salikhov. His boxing's better. Salikhov might have the better kicks, but he's not going to kick him all night. Salikhov coming off of a knockout loss, brutal one against Randy Brown. And then Ponzinibbio coming off the knockout loss against Kevin Holland. Both guys taking L's to guys with quick hands and long reach last time. Better matchup. Ponzinibbio's red flag fight is this Morono matchup where he was losing and then he got a comeback knockout. And then if you look on the other side, Muslim Salikhov lost to Dalby, forgivable. Win over Andre Fialho, it doesn't mean a ton at this point. Fialho's fallen off. Leach knocked him out. Trinaldo win doesn't mean a ton at this point. Look at Ponzinibbio, Biezo win, right? Like the wins don't mean a lot. But 2 years ago, Michel Pereira's split decision is good. 2.5 years ago, Jeff Neal's split decision is good. Ponzinibbio was still fighting ranked opposition 2 years ago and doing well. I think Ponzinibbio can find the Salikhov chin. Salikhov seems to be significantly older than him, even though, it's not a significant age difference. Salikhov is 40. He's over that 40 mark at 170, man. It's worrisome. There's Salikhov, who I'm telling you, he looks to be 50. He don't look 40. I don't know if that birth certificate is real. And then we're going to check out Ponzinibbio. Where's Ponzi at? I think he's in the next page. We got to pull him up. Ponzinibbio still looks youthful, man. He's doing commentary for the Spanish UFC, broadcast. I like Ponzinibbio. He's in good shape. He still looks good. Still looks young. I think he's got one good knockout left in him. I think that he is more primed than Salikhov is at this point. We're going to check out the face-off between these two. Respectable face-off for sure. Ponzi with the Argentine flag on his head. Little smile from Salikhov. Yeah, I'm going with Ponzinibbio by knockout. I don't think that Salikhov's going to have the goods to deal with the OG. I think he gets caught with something big, and I think he gets his light shut off. Plus 155 for Salikhov. Ponzinibbio at minus 180. I'm going with Ponzi to win as the favorite. Looking at the props, is there anything worth noting? Over 1.5, minus 210. Could happen, but also could be risky with two guys approaching 40, one that is 40. Then what? Knockout win for Ponzinibbio is plus 160. I am officially calling it. I think he gets it done with the hands in the second or third round. Both guys on the slower side, too, at this point, so they'll find each other, especially as we get into the second. Is the elevation going to be a factor for these two? Definitely possible with, Argentine fighter at ATT and then the Russian Salikhov. Salikhov looks so much younger in this picture. Holy shit. You wouldn't even know that's him if you put the side-by-side of him now versus when he was younger. Holy shit. I'm going with Ponzinibbio, the Argentine dagger by knockout. I think he's got one good win left in him. Next fight brings us to our main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new, subscribe. Rose Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez. Cortez stepping in on short notice, replacing Maycee Barber. She was supposed to be fighting next week. And now she's in a good spot here. Life-changing spot against Thug Rose. She did have a little bit of trouble making weight. She came in at 126. I had to cut her hair off to actually make the weight. But made the weight. Didn't shave her head like Thug Rose, though. Thug Rose made weight easily under the championship limit. I'm going with Thug Rose. I am riding with the championship pedigree, the experience in 5-round fights. I think you have to also look at level of competition. Yes, Tracy Cortez at 11-1. It's a nice record, and she's a good up-and-coming prospect, but she's not fought anybody near Thug Rose's level. Biggest win is Jasudavicius. Win, Melissa Gatto, okay. Justine Kish, doesn't mean much. Stephanie Harry, doesn't mean much. Vanessa Mill, doesn't mean much. Thug Rose, Amanda Hebos win, fairly impressive. Hebos was ranked at the time at 125. Manon Fiorot lost, which she broke her finger in the first round. Still went 3 rounds. It was competitive. Then the Esparza fight 2 years ago. That fight was horrible. I think Thug Rose still has some killer left in her. And I think that she can pick her shots well at 125, remain amongst the top here, and I think work towards a rebooking with Maycee Barber, which would make a lot of sense after this one. I'm going with Thug Rose to win. I think she can beat Tracy Cortez still. I think she can pull it off. I think she's getting her hand raised. I think she's going to outpoint her over the 5 rounds. I think she takes 4 out of the 5. Cortez is probably going to look to wrestle a bit, and she'll have some moments, but I think Namajunas is definitely the slicker striker, and there is a more viable threat of danger with Thug Rose as opposed to Tracy Cortez. Now, we are going to look at the scales, and we're going to see how these ladies looked. How did it come in? Were they on point? Yes, both were on point. Thug Rose looking like your typical Thug Rose. Boyish. Looks like Caillou, to be honest. That's funny, but an absolute killer nonetheless. My roast aside. Tracy Cortez crying on the scale after cutting her hair. Thug Rose is bald, man. She should have shaved it off if she wanted that real dramatic effect of the tears, you know? And then there's a respectable face-off. You can see, I mean, a little bit thicker arms on the side of Tracy Cortez. I feel like Thug Rose is just better. Technically better, higher level of experience better, has seen the elite of the divisions, both. Whereas Tracy hasn't. I'm going with Thug Rose Namajunas by decision for the W in this fight. Now, as far as the odds, Thug Rose is minus 230, which I think is fair in all honesty with the UFC, championship experience and the high caliber matchups and the consistent performing. Cortez been out a while after an accident with an ATV, I believe. Cortez plus 195 as the underdog. Fight going over is probably going to happen at minus 300. And Thug Rose to win by a decision is minus 105. I'm calling Thug Rose for the win. I'm saying she's getting it done on the cards is the official call. I think she pulls through. I think she's a winner on Saturday. I got Thug Rose to cap off UFC Denver and bring home a W with the main event call here. I think she's getting a decision on Tracy Cortez. 49-46. Lands more significant strikes. Defends some takedowns. Maybe even finds herself on top. What's a good matchup? Thug Rose for the W. But we're not done yet. Those are the full card picks. But I am going to do the post weigh-in parlays. Smash those damn likes for the post weigh-in parlays. All right. So I want to do two. I want to do the most confident parlay, and I want to do something that is valuable following the weigh-in. So I do believe Gabriel Bonfim is going to win. I also have a very good feeling C-Rod wins. We got minus 115 for those two. If you did want to add Joshua Van, that's live as well at plus 168. Decent favorite 3-play in this one. Now, I want to do a valuable call, though. I want to make some value happen. I want to give you guys two fighters that are going to bring ultimate value. Blackshear at plus 125. There's already value just on the money line with John Silva, our guy Gene Silva, the Savage. Plus 330 for those two together. Now, if you wanted to add a safety call in the mix to add a little more steam, you now get plus 450. If you had Bonfim, and if you did match that with C-Rod, plus 703. Now you're getting into D-Gen territory, but it definitely could happen. I think it's quite live. Razak Alhassan, the under in this fight, plus 1,400, right? Rose in the main, plus 2,000. Now you can go crazy. Now you're going a little nuts. Maybe Luana Santos, plus 18. Got to keep it on the safer side in a sense. Now, I do want to do a quick little prop parlay, which is ultimate degeneracy. We're going to go Razak Alhassan to win via KO. Not recommending this parlay, really, but just have to do it because, it adds flair to the show. Plus 110, plus 306 is risky as hell. C-Rod to win down the money line. What if he gets a decision? I don't want to risk it. But the same can be said about the other ones, right? Bonfim, plus 659. Gene Silva, plus 1350. Blackshear, plus 125. Holy shit. It's big plus money, but it just worries me, man. The D-Gen parlays, I mean, close your eyes. You got the same chance. Blackshear by a decision. Is that worth it? Let's see. Blackshear decision. The under. Nah. I'm just going to put Bonfim. Blackshear decision, Bonfim. Gene Silva via KO. Plus 1375. That's pretty good. It's live. Let's take out Bonfim. You still got plus 1,000. Then if you add in Bonfim and C-Rod, you're a menace. Plus 2,000. But I might as well go crazier. C-Rod by KO. Holy shit. Plus 295. 5,000. Holy shit. That's crazy. The over in the ladies fight. Now, let me just go Kline decision like a complete degenerate. Plus 15,000. Okay. Okay. This is chaotic. This is insane. This is how you really throw chaos at the fucking fire, man. Plus 22,000 now with Van. Not saying do it. We're just doing extra degeneracy. The safe parlays are better. On Wednesday, this week's Best MMA bets, safer calls are like Bonfim, C-Rod in a parlay, or Bonfim, C-Rod and Van, or Van and C-Rod as an alternate. Or maybe you're doing the value call, Blackshear and Silva. I think that's live. Maybe you're throwing Thug Rose in, but risking it on a women's main event, dangerous. Luana Santos could be added to some. I do think she beats Agapova, so I'm honestly going to finish with one more, just willing to, not discriminate. I'm putting a confident ladies pick. Luana Santos with Bonfim, okay, minus 158 with C-Rod, plus 136. probably going to end up coming through. Van plus 23, or excuse me, plus 239. Let's see if he did Blackshear. Plus 431. I like this one. But then Luana Santos fumbles. You're going to be kicking yourself. So what? Risk it for the biscuit. Guys, those are the parlays. Bet intelligently. Think about it before throwing down. Don't blindly tail. Do your own research before throwing serious, hard-earned money at these fights. Guys, I appreciate you all for watching. Smash the likes. Thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe if you're new. And see you guys for the Fight Companion. Much love, everybody. Thanks for watching. W in the comments if you got nothing to say, but definitely let me know what you thought of the picks down below. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.